Well, welcome to session 3 of the Kickbutt Leadership Live Facebook Conference. I am so excited to be back with you, and I'm so excited about this session. I am Coni Meyers with Kickbutt Leadership, and this is my co-host.
I'm Kim White with the My Sexy Business team.
Now, this lady I met a couple of years ago. Her and I both went to a group or a part of a group called Awesome Females in Real Estate that Bernice Ross puts on every year. And it's one of those, it's the only conference I've ever been to that I don't want it to be over. It's so inspiring and so much fun. And the ladies that I meet there are just absolutely incredible. And then we got last year we had a possibility of attending a storytelling class by Carol Murray, who is a phenomenal storyteller. And so I got to know Christine even more then. But it even got better this year at Awesome Females because we shared a room together and we really had a good time. Christine Lee, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm really looking forward to this. I love the work that you're doing. It's awesome.
Well, thank you. So I'm going to ask you the same thing I ask everybody. Were you a leader as a child?
Generally speaking, I want to say no, because I was a more determined type, because most people are surprised when I say that as a kid, I was a extreme introvert, like so nervous that I couldn't even go talk to people. And so I'm a learned extrovert, but now I guess I'm very comfortable with that. So nobody really knows. They're very surprised when they hear that. And so if you're an extreme introvert, so much so that you can't carry a conversation, being a leader doesn't really, come on the horizon. And so, but I do remember being very determined. Whatever I wanted to get done, I was kind of like hell bent on either learning it or figuring it out. That I did have that quality.
That does not surprise me one little bit. So how did you get from a child to where you are today? What was your journey like?
Growing up, it was kind of pretty normal, good household and, going to school. I started my first business in high school when I was 16, and out of a necessity, because I had I loved watching Japanese animation, and they're kind of expensive when you're 16, you don't have a job, you don't have any money. So the only way that I can figure out how to get a larger supply of anime to watch was to be a distributor. So next thing I know, I learned technology and building a web page, and then I was distributing to like 16 different countries. And so that was what I did in high school. I had like this whole operation going and like the system. And I literally, when my brother wanted to watch some anime, I would put him to work so he can earn his way. So I got some free labor. And I would have some friends come over and help me. They like heard about what I'm doing. They're like, oh, I guess they're just curious. So they'd come and help me. I had some more free labor there. And I'd show up at the post office literally with a whole sedan full of those priority boxes. And they'd have to cart out this huge, like, one of those square laundry mat rolly things. They'd come out, and then I'd pretty much like shut the line down, and they just have to process my order. So that was me in high school. And oops, I would break their line every single time. And
that's incredible. So you're with Keller Williams now. When did you start your real estate career?
I started it while I was in in college. A friend of the family needed some help on the technical end with their computers, and I finished that project. And then they're real estate appraisers, so they needed some extra help. I'm like, hey, why not? I was waiting tables, and I get to be in an air-conditioned building and not sweat, like jackpot, right? And so I was super excited. So I learned that, and I learned then that the owner was a real estate broker and a general contractor, and he was investing in flipping homes. And so we'd get into these conversations and like talk for like hours at a time, and I was just soaking it all up like a sponge. And it was like, oh, let me do one. Okay, I will. One of these ones, I'll let you do one. And I'd be like, it's kind of like, are we there yet? Right? Like that little kid. And so I literally pestered him for about a year to let me do one. And I'm like, I'll do it for free, right? Like, I just want to learn. And so finally he let me do one after everybody else like passed up opportunities. And I was like, I guess the only one left. I finally got to do it. I did a great job. So then I eventually ended up managing all the other projects. And so did about, a dozen or so different flips while I was going through college. And that's how I ended up getting my real estate sales license, because then we had to sell these suckers. But before that, the mortgage broker who was dealing and taking all the sign calls from them, and she had the role of qualifying them because that was lead gen for her. In the middle of the hottest market, we're not selling these homes. And even one, I remember we held on to it for over a year because it was a constant like, oh, they're qualified. Oh, they fell out. They qualified. They fell out. And so we're going through all these. I'm like, something's wrong, right? So then during that time, because she was doing such a bad job, I would try and make it easier on her. So then, she said she would need income asset employment docs. So then I'd start gathering those. Then I'd start going out and while she was doing the loan application. And then I just kind of memorized what she said. And then I started gathering that information and serving it to her on a silver platter, like the whole package. I didn't even know what I was doing. I just knew she needed it so that we can sell these homes. And then when I went to, I was going to the University of Florida, and I was like, you know what? This is ridiculous. So I just got really ticked off. And I'm like, if she can do it, I can do it, right? In terms of the loan part. So I literally opened up the phone book and called from A to S. And just cold calling and saying, hey, I'm so-and-so. I just want to learn about mortgages and loans. And, I'll be free labor. Do you have something for me? And all the way down to S, which was Stockton Turner. I still remember that name. The guy was like, okay, what were you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm doing, gathering documents, asking these questions. He's like, you're originating loans, right? And I'm like, what's that? And so he's like, just come on in. So I came into his office and he just took me under his wing. And I started, learning the programs, the processing and stuff like that. And then literally in about a couple months, he was like, Christine, you know enough to open up a net branch. And I was like, what's that? And he's like, he explained it to me. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll do that. So I opened up my own little net branch. And so that's how I became a mortgage broker. And eventually had, opened up my own mortgage, brokerage entity and correspondent lender and all that stuff. And got my sales license in between at the same time because we had to sell those homes, right? So it all stemmed from just like pure need of wanting to get the project done. So that's how I entered real estate.
Well,
I love it.
One of the stories that your story you told at the storytelling class, and you told it again at Awesome Females, I think it really relates to what a good part of Kickbutt leadership is all about. So I was hoping you would share the story with all of us, and then we can talk about all the different components that you experience, I guess is the best way to put it, with this other person.
All right. So I'm like, okay, how can I translate this to here? Okay. All right. So the story goes something like this. It was a hot summer afternoon and, we're just doing business as usual in real estate. And all of a sudden I hear this incredibly loud noise, and it was like between a scream and a slam. So it's like, ah, right? Something just bam, just hits the floor. And I'm like, what the heck is that? And it sounded super loud. It's like, sometimes your brain just caught off guard and you can't even imagine what that sound is. It's like on like freezing mode. So I'm like, okay, then I finally come back to my senses and I'm like, oh my gosh, did that come from next door? So I just kind of peek around where my assistant is at. And I'm like, did you just hear that? Like, where did that come from? And she is on the floor, like picking up the pieces. And she's like, no, everything's okay. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened? Are you okay? And she's just like, not like letting me in. She's like, I'm okay. I'm fine. I got it. Everything's under control. And I'm like, really, everything under control does not look like it's under control at all, right? Is what I'm thinking. I'm like, okay. And so, I kind of like walked out of the office, but I'm just like, man, like that is bad, and it just kind of like, I flashed back to, gosh, it wasn't always like this. And, certainly I knew there was tension going on between us, but in the beginning, right, it was like love at first sight. I was introduced to her by somebody that I respected because they sang her praises. And I'm just thinking, oh, this is exactly who I was looking for. I met and talked to her and she was like heart of gold, wanted to serve. And she's like, I'll do that. Yes, 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 yes. And I'm like, awesome. Sounds like you want to do everything that I need. So I just hired her. And so, first week it's honeymoon phase. So she's like, oh yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. And I'm like, just dumping stuff on her. I'm like, oh yeah, this is the path to freedom, baby, And so, week 2 rolls around and I'm like, hey, checking on this. And there's some things that are slipping through the cracks. And as the weeks progress, it's just like got more and more stressful because she realized that she couldn't, keep up. And I'm just like, hey, how about this? How about that? It's like bam, bam, bam. And so it just degraded to the point where it's just like literally boom, like she broke that day. And so I say that I literally broke my assistant, and that's what it sounded like. And looking back now, what I didn't realize is that there's such a difference between, how we as entrepreneurs, leaders are wired versus people who are in support. And looking back, the lessons there were the way I talked to her, and even the way that they process information, handle stress, and even the comments that I say to her, like it could literally be a compliment and she's taking it as like oh my gosh, like what was that? Or like, what is she talking about? Like it doesn't even come across as a compliment. So many disconnects. And when you have those disconnects over and over and over again, like the gap like widens so much that it's like you guys are talking 2 different languages. And so I have a saying, like using the verbiage from the DISC, the DISC, that, high D's are from Mars and high C's are from Venus.
I love it. I love it. Well, I think one of the lessons that you had in all of this is that, first of all, evaluating the person prior to you hiring them. I mean, everybody's in love with the first week or so, and then who knows where it's going to go. Mm-hmm. So truly having an evaluation of, is this person's personality like the DISC program, or also just being aware of whether or not they're an audio, visual, or kinesthetic kind of personality is how you respond. Mm-hmm. So how has that changed your management or your leadership style now?
Now I treat it as if it's a marriage. Like it literally is a work marriage because you're with them, 8 hours a day or 8 to 10, whatever, the schedule is. And that's about the same as you would spend with your significant other, if that, right? Because if you're both working and then whatever. So the idea of hiring somebody at first sight is like having a marriage proposal at first sight. Like that's reckless. And I want to make clear to people who are looking to bring somebody on is that they now become your responsibility. So it's a huge responsibility that you're taking. You're messing with their income and their lives. So I don't take that lightly. And if you hire them when you should not have, it not only like busts up your business life, but it busts up their personal financial life too. So it is a like very vetted process, like multi-stage down. I mean, just being brutally honest, like it's painful. Like it's not hiring and recruiting is not, well, recruiting is something else, but like the hiring process is not my joy zone. So I leverage out as much as I can, but even in the parts that I need to step into, it's still like grueling because it's not like at the pace we want to go, we want to be like, bam, bam, bam. Yes, no, maybe so, like figure it out. But this is much more of a courting type thing. And you have to discover the truth, like the truth underneath the truth. Like there's layers to people's stories. And if you follow the right process, then you're going to multiply your chances of having a successful business relationship. And that in the long term will save you a lot of heartache. And so I don't think there's really a pretty way to say like, hey, it's work to hire the right person, to find the right person. And there's no sugarcoating it saying, oh yeah, here's the shortcut to it. There's no shortcut that I'm aware of, or else I would have taken it by now. And every shortcut that I have attempted, has proven that there is no shortcut.
Well, one of the things that I have likened interviewing to is dating. Uh-huh. You say what you think the other person wants to hear, not really the truth. Like they'll come in and you ask, are you okay with traveling? Are you okay with, and you have a list of things that like your job that you need done requires. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh yeah, I could do whatever, And then after the honeymoon of the first week, then they're like, oh, well, I can't travel like Monday through Saturday. And I think it's just like dating. We like pretend sometimes when we want to, be with someone that we perceive they're the best catch.
Yeah.
And we project this story.
Yeah. And so now I don't know if this is the approach that I take, is that you're guilty until proven innocent, right? So you're like guilty of not being a good fit until you actually have enough evidence to turn that judgment and say, you know what, you're in the clear, you are a good fit. So you have to literally make a case for why that person is. So instead of them saying, oh yeah, they're like, yes, yes, yes to everything, let's like dig behind that and see if there's any reason why it wouldn't be. I mean, it is a very defensive type of approach, but people aren't going to give you the ugliness, up front. That's not what they're designed to do. That's not what people just do in general. And so it's your responsibility to get down to the truth and know that the first meeting is always honeymoon meeting. And it's the best that it's going to get, right? Like if that's okay, lukewarm or so-so, and you're like somehow convincing yourself like it may get better. No, it's like downhill. I mean, I'm not being cynical, but like, they're not going to all of a sudden be like twice as good or like miraculously different. You may be able to build that relationship so the value of it continues to increase and they develop. But like in terms of some of the core stuff, like it's really not getting better.
One of my friends has a company that's worth several $1 billion. And one of the best pieces of advice he ever gave me was to fire faster. If we get someone in and they're not a fit, that you're exactly right. They're the best that they're going to get at that point. Fire them faster. But I like what you said about taking on the responsibility. Now, I think that's a leadership quality to look at the responsibility you're taking on when you add someone to your team.
Yeah, and it's something that I think, is typically taken lightly because not because people mean to hurt anybody, but because they're in such pain of their own that they don't look at, what they're really impacting. They're just like, I need to breathe, right? Emergency red light on my end. I got fires in my room, in my backyard, not necessarily paying attention to like burnt grass on the other side of the fence.
Exactly.
So tell me, how did Seize the Market get started, and what is Seize the Market?
So Seize the Market got started because I was in my journey of in real estate, I built a team. And once I built a team and started treating it like a business, which means accountability, tracking, systematizing, automation, there was not a tool that really provided me everything under one roof. Like there's one for this, one for that. I checked my document for how many logins I had one day, and it was like 87. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so ridiculous. And so because I had the tech background from when I was being a geek since I was 16, I ended up essentially forming a company, getting a team of developers, and building a solution called Seize the Market to facilitate my own business and a need that I identified in the marketplace for many others who are really, there's a whole new wave and generation of people who are treating real estate like a business and need the systems, automation, accountability built into it. And so that's how Seize the Market was born. And the evolution to today is that now it's not only technology, but it's technology and training, because we realize you can't throw software at people and expect them to use it optimally. And that without the training and accountability, that it's like lackluster. And so now we bridge the two. And so we take care of our clients in terms of, okay, here's the software technology and here's how we do things, right? If you love it, come on board, and we're going to step you through all the way, with our training that's involved. And, again, it's not just software training, because to run a business, the qualities of leadership, right? The qualities of whether it's communication or the process, contract to close mastery, and then the language of success, whether it's for admin, leaders, with your clients, those all come into play. And so the leading question was, if I was married to my clients business-wise and joined at the hips for their success, what tools would they need? And it wasn't just software. It was software and training, things to raise their leadership lid, things to make them, give them operational excellence. So that's kind of where we're at today.
That's really good. And, you know, Miss Connie's course that she just came out with, she has a lit assessment in there. And you have to know I'm a kindergarten princess. I think in pictures and I think in like simple things.
Uh-huh.
One of the things I love about what you just said about the lid is I think of the fleas at this, you know, in the circus where they hit their head on the top of the jar. You catch them and put them in the jar. And then eventually you can take the lid off the jar and they will not escape because they go just below where they hit their head so many times.
Mm.
And how many times do we do that in business? Well, we tried this technology.
Mm-hmm.
It bit me, you know.
Uh-huh.
I couldn't get past it, so I just quit at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she's got a great tool to show basically where you're stuck, you know, where your
lid is.
where you're short of where you actually could go.
Mm-hmm.
The very first module of the Kickbutt Leadership Master Course is I took it from John Maxwell's Law of the Lid, and it is a lid assessment so that you can find out exactly where your leadership skills are and what level, because your business cannot be any higher than what you as the leader, your lid level is.
Mm-hmm.
Can't be any higher.
The team
either.
can't be any higher. That's right. So, and God forbid you have somebody on your team that has a higher lid than you, because that causes all kinds of problems. So, but yeah, I think assessing people is really, really critical, both yourself as well as anybody you want to bring onto your team. What are some of the training programs that you're offering?
We have currently Contract to Close Mastery, and then we have the Team Building Blueprint, which is the steps that we're talking about, the process of once you even like think about I need help, all the way to getting the right person in that process, that courting, that dating, the proposal. It's funny because I always also use the whole dating marriage analogy. And literally my last one is, okay, now we pop the question, you know?
I love it.
Yeah.
So, let me ask you this, Christine. Is this just for real estate agents?
No, the team building blueprint would be applicable to any business, anybody who's looking to hire anybody. You know, it's take the process, go slow. And it is hire slow, fire fast, you know, is what I've been taught through my trainings that I've received over the years. And the slow part is so important. It's worth it. It's kind of, man, I've tried to shortcut it. Let me tell you, if there's a shortcut to be found, like I want to sniff that sucker out, right? And I have cost myself just so much heartache and dollars by looking to shortcut this process. And to my knowledge, and I haven't even heard anybody else that says shortcut it, right? So I think I'm in good company amongst a lot of successful people. I say, listen, buddy, there's no shortcut. They wish there was a shortcut too, right? And everybody would be singing it from the mountaintops, but it really, really isn't. It's not a careless move. It's very, very purposeful, and it's a commitment of time. So
what is where would you like to see Seize the Market go? What is your vision for your company?
So right now we're in the space of real estate, and you know, it's always been designed from the get-go to be outside industry. So as we develop these courses, this is probably one of our first entries into being outside of real estate because of the nature of the courses. And that's really exciting to see because that widens our horizons and our audience and the way we can serve people. And it's just such a need. To me, there's certain things just like, again, this is just my 2 cents, but like as far as knowing the DISC and the behavioral styles and how it affects you personally and professionally, I feel like everybody needs to know that. And it should be taught in school, but it's not, you know, and like a small portion of the population are lucky enough to run into that type of training and education and see, oh, that's how it works, you know? But really everybody would benefit from it. And my team members from the past, when I'm still talking to them, they're like, Christine, I didn't realize, you know, I mean, I realize now like how much work we did in personal development and how much further I am. And they would be referring to their spouse, you know, like they feel that gap and they're like, you know, their workplace doesn't support any of this, you know? And so I'm now catching them up, but man, we did a lot of great stuff. And so to duplicate that in a systematic way, so that it's not, you don't have to be, you know, on my team to just experience that, I think is going to be a lot of fun. Ooh, frozen. Oh, I'm back. Oh, you're back. Am I unfrozen?
Yes, you are now. I was like trying to see if I had done like could fix it.
Oh.
There you go.
Oh, you're back. Okay.
Not sure what was going on, but technology is bittersweet sometimes.
I know, right? Just roll with the punches.
That's right.
Well, Christine, we'll put a spot on the we'll put in the comments how somebody can reach out to you and learn more about what you're doing.
Sure. No, thank you. I appreciate that.
Really appreciate you coming on and being a part of Kickbutt Leadership.
Mm-hmm.
You truly are a Kickbutt leader. That's one of the things I admire most about you is you're young and you're feisty and you are a leader. Believe me, if you were a leader in high school, you were obviously a leader much younger. You just didn't know it.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
An extroverted introvert. I've come to learn that term. Some people are not born like out loud or extroverted, but because of what you're doing requires that, you actually become that.
Yeah, no, it was painful as a kid because you had all this like energy and drive, but you like couldn't like you were so shy. It was very weird, very weird. But yeah, no, just a work in progress, like you said, a hot mess, just like a lot of us. And it's fun being a hot mess. I don't think that'll ever change, to be honest. If I clean it up too much and I'm not creating enough messes, I'm probably getting a little bit bored, to be honest with you.
Can I high five you?
We're like, it's way too quiet around here. We have to stir up some crap,
That's right. You got to find another cliff to jump off of.
I know. Geronimo!
Exactly.
Well, Christine and I had some really good conversations while we were at Awesome Females last time because we were shared the room. And I cannot wait to work with you, Hot Mess, for sure.
Yay! And let's get as many hot messes in a room together, see what boils and bubbles up.
That's right.
when we do that.
Exactly.
That's
All
right.
right.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Christine. I really appreciate you taking the time, and I'm sure that you got a lot of really good information out there for people on how to hire the right person. And thank you for telling your story because I love that story.
Oh, well, thank you for giving me the chance. And you guys are awesome. I will talk to you later.
Okay.
Bye. It was nice to meet you.
All right. Well, we'll be coming back at 1:30 with Deborah Central Time, 10:30 Pacific Time. And we're bringing back Deborah Trapin, which talk about, she is Christine with red hair, may I just say. And so
beautiful red hair, like just gorgeous.
Yeah. So we'll be back in about an hour. This is Coni Meyers with Kickbutt Leadership.
I'm Kim White with the My Sexy Business team.
We'll see you soon.
Bye.